Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim, live in Green Bay, here to talk some Packers on this glorious Monday evening as we've got a doubleheader going on. Monday Night Football. We got the Titans and the Dolphins and a couple other teams that I can't think of right now because the announcers are too busy showing their faces. But, Tim, how you doing tonight, pal?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Happy to be here. Talk a little ball. Not a victory Monday, but we're here as always.
It is cool though, man, because it seemed like the longer the day went, or the more the day passed by, I should say. Just listening to sports talk, call-in shows, all that stuff, it seemed like everybody's starting to come to the realization, like, hey, this is probably a good thing. The way they responded. If they hadn't responded and they had lost by a couple of tutters, yeah, it would be like, oh man, where do we go from here? But this team really, really did respond. The thing that keeps sticking out to me, and we'll kind of talk about it all. I want the chat to be extra active tonight too. Want to get your all's take on everything. We're going to try to get to as many of them as we can. We're also going to break down the PFF grades and team statistics, things like that. But the big thing, Tim, that stood out to me was multiple people throughout the day kept talking about Jayden Reed and how he got the whole stadium energized when he caught that touchdown pass, sprinting across the field, like getting everybody fired up. That's the big thing I took away. Like, this dude, we got us a dog for the next 10 years. I think he's going to be a great asset to this team, and we're going to dive into that as well. But first things first. So, Tim, after you slept on it over the night, what do you think? What do you think about the game now, man? Did you wake up feeling any different? Talk to me. How did you feel? Like I said, waking up on Monday. Mondays are, I don't want to say this one was rough. Mondays are usually rough after a loss. This one wasn't so bad for me, man. I'm looking forward to that rematch with the Vikings. I know that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we'll get right. What is that? Week 17. So we'll take it. There you go. Look at that. Here's a guy with the schedule. I love it. I think we'll take care of them on the road end of the year here. A couple divisionals to close out the season. I believe we had the Bears right after them. But, waking up today, honestly, man, more of the same. I feel the same way I did yesterday. I feel proud to be a Packer fan. This team did not roll over and die. They did not lay down. They found a way to keep themselves in the game. And you could actually see Minnesota kind of shift from coast mode to, oh, crap, we have to play. This team is not laying down. And lo and behold, we lose the game by 2 points, And, people want to talk about the onside kick all they want. Onside kick is irrelevant in football. It's all but phased out at this point. You have to tell them you're going to do it. You can only do it in the fourth quarter. You can only do it if you're losing. I mean, nobody thought we were going to recover that onside kick. At least I hope nobody thought we were going to recover that onside kick. But, a lot of fight in that team just to take it down to the wire with no timeouts, and it gives us hope. Matt LaFleur called it a humbling game for this team, and I think that's pretty accurate. I think this humbled us a little bit. So if guys were getting a little overconfident or a little too cocky, this will bring you back down to earth. And, a game we probably, for all intents and purposes, should have won. I had said going into this game it was going to be decided by 10 or less points. I was correct. I knew it was going to be close. It was a hell of a lot closer than I think a lot of us thought it was going to be by the time the clock hit zero. So shout out to the Packers for coming together as a young team and banding together and coming back from a, a 27-point deficit and get back into that game and at least make it interesting for us fans. Shout out to the gold package fans at Lambeau Field. At least they got a hell of a game yesterday for sure for everyone who didn't leave early, which hopefully is nobody. So, yeah, man, on a Monday, I'm still feeling like I did yesterday, Clay. I'm still proud of this team. Would have liked to get a dub, but, can't win them all, right?
That's exactly right, man. And the other thing, too, that was in my notes as I was kind of charting the game, I try to take notes off to the side, just little things I noticed throughout the game. And that first quarter, before the defense really started pooping the bed, that crowd was loud. I mean, they were rowdy. I think we got them for two. It was either 2 delay of games or a delay of game, and they had to call a timeout. So Shout out to the gold package for showing up and getting loud, man. So green package, you're back up. You're up the bat. Let's go, man. Let's keep that thing rowdy in there. Someone called in on Packernet After Dark and said that was the loudest they've ever heard that stadium, which was really cool to hear. They were actually at the game, if I remember correctly. So Just something to kind of hang your hat on there too, that we got to get that home field advantage back at Lambeau, and you got to get loud for sure. Now, listen, I'm the guy who usually sits in the box, so I can't criticize too much. I'm inside going, I hope these people don't get mad at me because I am going to scream at some point. But
it's a process. We finally got the gold package crowd to stop yelling on offense and actually yell on defense. So that's good. And nobody leaving early. So we'll see what happens here. But you're right, Clayton, man. It's been at least 3 or 4 years, maybe even 5 since teams actually feared coming to Lambeau Field. Like, we got to stop losing these games at home. I'm sorry, divisional opponent or not, we got to protect 1265, man. I'm tired of seeing us lose at home.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt about it. Let's go to the chat real quick, see what we got going on here. 2-0 for this says, yesterday showed how dangerous this team can be if we fix the stupid mistakes and once Love gets rolling. Amen, man. In the second half, he looked really comfortable. Like, he started to really settle in, started to drive on some of those throws. I know the knee was bothering him. LaFleur, obviously, he confirmed that earlier today, saying that, he was pretty sore this morning. So, obviously, once the adrenaline wears off and everything of the game, the pain kind of sets back in. So he's definitely still healing up there. Larry Cano in the house says, kicker talk. Rechecked and Narv Dog. Rechecked and Narv Dog was on the week 3 Saturday injury report with a right foot injury, but active for the game. Possibly it's still bothering him and played a part in yesterday's misses. Tim, I forget all about that. I remember that week we were kind of nervous, but it didn't seem to bother him in Tennessee. I wish we knew the details on it. I wonder how bad that is.
It could be any number of things, but it's obviously a serious concern with a right-footed kicker, right? Mr. Larry, right on the nose here. Yeah, that's something we kind of overlooked. Maybe explains why he pushed that one wide right and then shanked one off the upright too.
Right.
Not making excuses, just something to consider. Like Larry said, possibly it's still bothering him. What are you going to do? Like, who else is going to kick for us at this point? So you had to send him out there.
Right. And then Larry, of course, with the super chat said, forgot the kicker talk fee. Appreciate you, Larry.
Larry's a man. I love it.
He is. Larry's supported us since day one, man. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. And all the memorabilia and stuff he donated to give away. He's just an awesome human being. Eric Sutherland in the chat says, onside kicks eat crayons and finger paint with poop. There you go. Donovan Schilling. Donovan Schilling said, hey, I made it. Like I always say, you got to go 2-2 to go 15-2.
I love it.
I like it.
I love it. Can we super chat Donovan Schilling? Can we give him $5? That was awesome. Yeah. I love it.
Reverse super chat to Donovan Schilling. There you go. It's listen, we kind of talked about, I was talking about 10 to 13 wins. When Jordan went down, I went, oh boy, we might be under 10, and obviously you come out, you find a way to win those 2 games while he was out. Now you're sitting at 2-2. So to me, you're probably looking at 9 to 12 wins now, somewhere in that ballpark is the way I'm seeing it. So hopefully it's closer to 12 than 9, and the Packers can pull it together and make the playoffs. I know this, they seem to get hot in the second half as long as the injuries don't pile up too bad. So I've got a lot of faith in this team. I really do, man. I think they're going to be just fine. I think that, like I said, that second half is something to build off of. I think that's why Matt seemed a little more at ease, a little more calm there at the post-game presser and all that. And we got a couple things we're going to hit on that Matt talked about earlier today too that I thought was really interesting. And I'm always looking for answers to the questions we got in the post-game show, and it's why I try not to talk too in depth in the post-game show, because everybody's emotions are running high. I want the post-game show to be like, hey, here's what happened. We don't know all the details yet. We're going to dive into it as the week goes on. But let's have some fun, win or lose, and try to just talk about on the surface what happened. And then it's cool. The next day Matt meets with the media and you start to get some of these questions answered. So we'll hit on some of that here in a minute. But yeah, Donovan, love the positivity, my friend. 2-0 for this says, I want to see an onside where the kicker just drills it as hard as he can at the face mask of a lineman. It's funny. I wonder why that doesn't happen as often. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a good point. You aim for one of those frontline guys and just hit them right in the chest as hard as you can. Now, I guess it could glance off, go out of bounds. More can go wrong than right. But like you said, Tim, onside kick, man, it's such a crapshoot.
It was really telling to me that we had to send Daniel Whelan out there to drop kick it. And it tells you a little bit about Braden Narveson. Obviously, there's, I don't know if it's an issue or whatever, but they just didn't feel like he was capable of, putting that ball on a tee and kicking a knuckleball there on the onside kick. So, but yeah, I mean, it used to be an art form. You used to be able to use deception. You used to be able to, run an onside whenever you wanted to. You could line up like you were kicking it off normal and then, shift guys over and, surprise a team. And all of that is out the window now. So I'm with too old for this. I think that would be great. Just put that ball on the tee and drill it right at that dude in front of you. See what happens.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Kenneth Hammond in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. He says, where is Rashawn Gary?
In the weight room. He's in the weight room right now.
Rashawn Gary was the third highest graded defender on the Packers roster yesterday. And I checked Next Gen Stats. According to their statistics, he is the Green Bay Packer leading with the most pressures at 10% pressure. So once again, when the defense struggles, and I'm not trying to pick on you, Kenneth, but listen, you're not the only one asking this. It's just, I'm always amazed at how people want to throw arguably the best defensive player we got under the bus because he's the highest paid or one of the highest paid. It's like, you're going to have to pay for a good player. Does he want more sacks? Absolutely. Well, I'd love it if he was leading the league in sacks right now. But if you're truly paying attention, you heard once again today, Matt LaFleur talk about at his presser that they're trying to control the pass rush. They're trying to make sure they don't rush past. And he kind of got snippy with the media and said, as you can see on the 3rd and 1 play, we got too aggressive, got too far up the field, and Sam Darnold runs for a 3rd down conversion first down. That's what's going on. I know it's not the answer anyone wants to hear, but my response is always going to be, okay, so because Rashawn Gary isn't living up to some people's expectations, we should cut bait with the player who's getting the highest pressure percentage. It just makes no sense. Again, I know everybody gets emotional, and I want Gary to be doing better too. I feel like he has regressed this year. With that being said, again, we look up and now he's the 3rd highest graded player on the defense yesterday, with the top one being Xavier McKinney, 91.2, Evan Williams, only 11 snaps. That doesn't meet their minimum qualification. I put it on there because I think it was noteworthy because they ended up kicking Javon Bullard to the slot. And Evan Williams graded out at 80.9, 11 snaps, and then Rashawn Gary at a 70.2. Game plan's different every week. Here's the other thing, too, that kind of bothered me today, Tim, and maybe I can just vent a little bit. And you tell me if I'm wrong. Seriously, if you think, no, Clayton, you're off base there, say it. And people in the chat say it, too. Going into last week, the complaint was we're just not getting enough pressures, right? We're the defense. Where's the pass rush? Where's the pass rush? You go into Tennessee and you get 8 freaking sacks. 8 sacks, and everybody after that game's going, woo, what about this pass rush, baby? Let's go. And then yesterday, you don't get much of a pass rush going. It's this pass rush sucks. I'm going, what are we doing? Which one is it? Do they suck? Are they good? Or maybe is it that each week the scheme kind of gets shifted around? Like in Tennessee, they turn the dogs loose because you got a big lead. You know the other team's looking to pass now. So you can pin your ears back and go. So I think a lot of it's situational football is kind of how I see it. How do you see that, Tim? What do you think about the pass rush? It could definitely be better. There's no two ways about that. But
well, again, it's a week-to-week thing, like you said. I mean, we looked absolutely lights out in Tennessee, right? Well, you put a different game plan together for the Vikings. The Vikings are not the Titans. It's 2 different teams. We can disagree on that game plan. I personally disagree with the game plan. I wasn't a big fan of the single high man. We saw some cover 2 man. We saw a lot of just, I don't know, getting lit up for 3 touchdowns in the first quarter type of stuff. But yeah, it's a week to week league, right? You have a new opponent every week. You're not gonna play the, we as fans sometimes get sucked into this, this misnomer of, our defense is our defense and this is how we play defense. Right. And it's like, no, this is how we play this Sunday. And next week we'll play a little bit different and we'll switch up personnel and, switch up our scheme a little bit. Sometimes we'll go man heavy. Sometimes we're zone heavy. Sometimes we're blitz heavy. Obviously it made sense to be blitz heavy against the Tennessee Titans. I don't know about what you guys saw, but the few pressures that we got, Sam Darnold looked like Michael Vick out there. So I don't think it was necessarily, a scheme approach as a whole, other than that each week you have a different game plan. The one criticism I have of from a defensive point of view is I felt like Coach Half just he wasn't willing to adjust quick enough. I think by the time he adjusted, it was too late. And so that would be my only knock on his game plan for sure, is that he didn't adjust quick enough.
And I would have a lot more knocks than that. Maybe we'll get into it on Chalk Talk. I'm trying to get everything together for it. There's going to be 15 plays. So, man, as soon as I see them, can I cut that? No, I got to keep that one down. I got to keep so many plays that played a role in that game and how it got to be 28-0. And then, of course, the comeback was the highlight for the Packers. We're going to have some fun with that too. But, yeah, I mean, like you said, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. Every week's a different opponent. You got to approach it different. You really do. Coach Lynn in the chat said, did anyone notice Nixon playing on the perimeter? That got Bullard in the slot and Evan Williams on the field. I did notice that, Coach. I'm not sure why they went that route. Now, obviously, you're missing your top two corners, and I didn't consider Carrington Valentine over the depth chart of Eric Stokes, but like I heard people pointing out today, I think on Wildy and Tausch, they were talking about it, that game that he got hurt in where he kind of replaced Stokes and got more snaps. He was on while he was healthy, he was getting more snaps than Eric Stokes in that game. So it seems like they may have shifted to Carrington Valentine needs to be the number two corner. So with that being said, you lose your top corner, you lose your number two corner. So now you're down to 3 and 4. I think that might be why Keyshawn got put on the outside once Valentine got burned there on the go route. I think it was actually a double move, which Matt LaFleur kind of scolded the media today. They were saying it was Keyshawn that got burned out there, and it was actually Valentine. He's like, you mean Valentine? You mean on the right side, the double move?
Well, we noticed Keyshawn getting roasted on the perimeter by Justin Jefferson for a tutter. We saw that. And what was crazy about that is he played perfect defense all the way until the end of the play when he didn't get his head around.
Right.
If he turns his head around in time, it's a pick. It's a pick for a touchback, and
Jair picks that ball, doesn't he?
Yeah, all day.
All day.
So, and hey, it is what it is. How often have, like Coach Len is saying, like how often have we seen Keyshawn on the boundary, like playing out in that space? So, all things considered, I think he did about as good as you could expect a guy to do in that situation on arguably one of the best receivers in the National Football League. So, to answer Coach Len's question, yeah, I noticed Keyshawn playing on the perimeter, and it didn't look great. Didn't look terrible, but it didn't look great either.
I think it was kind of a testament that, hey, look, let's get Bull in the slot.
Yep.
Let's get Keyshawn on the outside. He's our more experienced corner. Let's see if he can slow these guys down. And then, of course, Evan Williams with that 80 PFF grade, man, that's exciting. Now, I said it was exciting when Edgerrin Cooper had an 80 PFF grade or whatever it was that 1 week in the 70s. And then, of course, he gets a few more snaps yesterday. And according to PFF, he didn't have that good of a game. But
I like the question, though, because my question would be if Ja's not out and Ja is in the game and you want
then what do you got, right?
Then what happens with Keyshawn? Does Keyshawn just rotate down the depth chart and we still put Bullard in the slot and move Evan Williams into the game, or,
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I'm kind of leaning towards I think it had more to do with, hey, this isn't working on the outside with Valentine. Let's kick Key out there and bring Bull in the slot type thing. But I could be wrong there.
Should have just grabbed my boy Robert Rochelle and put him out there on the boundary.
My boy. Sam Darnold, let's see here. Coach Lynn in the chat says Sam Darnold is more athletic than he looks. He really is, Coach. People forget Sam Darnold was a top 5 pick, if I remember correctly. He's definitely a top 10. I think he was top 5 coming out of, was it USC he was coming out of, I believe?
I think so.
Yeah, he's a lot more athletic than people give him credit for. And I overlooked that for sure. I'm thinking, all right, Sam Darnold wants to stay in the pocket, and he does. Most quarterbacks do. That's why I was thinking pin your ears back a little bit more. Maybe I was right in that assessment, and we should have done that. But then again, man, that third down when we got too far up the field and they got the first, boy, that was just one of many plays that you just go, God.
That was so tough to watch. Oh, my gosh.
2-0 for this in the chat said, you're off base, Clayton. I didn't hear what you said because a DoorDash ad popped up, but you're off base. Appreciate it.
Here's the guy.
It sounds like the YouTube channel is getting a bunch of ads right now. It's good and bad. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for sitting through them, skipping through, whatever you got to do. Just understand it is necessary to be able to keep the channel going and pay for the stuff we need and the equipment and everything. So appreciate everybody being understanding about that. Now I'm actually a YouTube premium subscriber. I'm telling you right now, guys, it's well worth it. being able to listen to stuff in the background on your phone, like you can catch live streams and just lock your screen and listen to it. That's the main reason I wanted it. But also it's ad free, all that stuff. Not trying to overly promote it, but it's definitely worth the money. I don't even know what I spent on it, to be honest with you. I would cancel the cable here at the house before I cancel that. I really do enjoy it. But thank y'all for sitting through the ads. That goes for the podcast too. I know that can be frustrating. I listen to podcasts just as much, if not more, than you guys. And I know ads can be frustrating. Just understand it's kind of I don't want to say a necessary evil, but it's definitely necessary.
Nope.
Donovan Schilling, quit with all your logic, man. I'm a boring fan. There's no doubt about it, dude. Jordan, let's see, AFAM in the chat said, Jordan Love looks like he didn't have his head on a swivel. He was locking in too much. I can see that.
Yep.
To me, Tim, it looked like it was, the way Jordan's play style is, it's drop back, read 1-2. You know what? I can catch the second window there. Let me roll right here type thing and extend the play. And yesterday, it just didn't seem like he was comfortable enough in the first half to do that. Now, you've seen him started to drop back, step up, slide right in the second half. That's where he hit Jaden Reed for those two big plays. But I think that had a lot to do with it. It was just him not trusting that knee there in the first half. But hopefully that gets better. What do you think, man?
I agree, man. I was way off base because I had said going into the game with utmost confidence that it would take a series or two for Jordan to kind of, get his wheels moving and get back in the groove. And it took basically an entire first half into the third quarter for that to really start happening. So AFAM's totally right. He was not comfortable out there. Our O-line didn't do us too many favors there in the first half either, dealing with that Minnesota defense, giving Jordan any kind of time whatsoever. And then, getting away from the run or never really establishing the run, that didn't help us very much in the first half either. So everything that could have gone wrong went wrong as far as Jordan was concerned. And then you could see it. He was trying to play hero ball. Let's be real. He was trying to play hero ball. He threw a hospital ball to Scoot, and Scoot's going to be going to IR probably at some point. And that's not putting that on Jordan. Hey, it's football. We all know what's going on out there. Anyone can be hurt anytime. And Christian Watson laid it all out trying to make a play on that ball. To bail out his quarterback there and bail out his team in a boat race at that point. So big salute to Christian Watson for laying it all on the line for the team. But I agree with AFAM, man. Jordan did not look comfortable in that first half at all. But, he locked in a good way in that second half, and we started to see that Jay Money type of play that we have been accustomed to going back to last season. So I think it's a matter of time before Jordan Love is back 100% for sure.
Yeah, and that hospital ball, Matt kind of elaborated on that a little bit earlier today. Coach LaFleur did, and what he said was, if you'll notice the route combination, and we're definitely going to hit on it in Chalk Talk, Musgrave was vert, and then you had Scoot underneath him with the I think it was either the dig or the out. And what Matt LaFleur said was they read Tampa too, and typically in that Tampa, when you run that vert route, the guy flips his hips and goes with the vert, so he wasn't expecting both those guys to be there. And Harrison Smith, being the great veteran safety he is, just ignored the vert, broke on the ball. He'd been watching film too. I'm eager to go back and see the all-22 again on that play to see if maybe Musgrave was the better read, because he did drop the coverage, he being Harrison Smith, but Matt definitely responded to that too. So it was a hospital ball, no doubt about it. Shout out to United Bates, super chat. Appreciate you, buddy. He said, I was going to give $10, but the Pro Shop got the best of me. Go Pack. The Pro Shop is undefeated against us Packer fans, man. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And thank you for the pictures yesterday, Bates, of the stadium and everything, man. That was absolutely awesome. You are the man, bud. Let's see. Ron Samble, could be scheme, but Darnold sure had a lot of time to stand and pick the secondary apart. Ron, he had all day to pick it apart. And Coach Lynn is going to, I'm going to kind of echo Coach Lynn's point here too. There was a couple snaps I seen, Tim, where both interior defensive linemen were just kind of playing patty cake. And it was Carl Brooks and Kenny Clark. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense how they're rushing right now. And maybe Kenny hit the wall. I don't know. I hope that's not the case. But there was a couple reps I watched, and I'm like, come on, dude. Coach Lynn says should be asking where Clark is instead of Rashawn Gary. He said it earlier tonight here. I don't want to pile on, but man, I keep saying, man, I don't understand, but I do understand it. We talked about it going into the offseason. Like, I wouldn't extend him. I'd let him test the market. And then lo and behold, we get through training camp and Goody extends him. I go, what the hell do I know? I'm an idiot. They just gave him the book. But, man, I don't know, dude. Definitely you got to get pressure. We always talk about it, edge defender and 3-tech. And the reason those are so important in tandem together is because it's hard to double team both of those. You go wide knob one side, 3-tech on the other. And you'll notice in the tape, if anybody will go watch the tape on NFL Pro, watch the box cams, you'll see Gary getting chipped all day long. Backs, tight ends, hitting them in the chest, shedding them off, hitting the tackle, shedding him off, and trying to get to the QB. It's just, again, going into last week, fifth most defensive player in the entire NFL in chip rate at 20%. So that's why you don't hear me panicking about Gary. You turn the tape and you see why he's not getting there. You see it. He'll get his one-on-one matchups every now and again, and you'll see him push that pocket. He'll get, take the edge like that LVN sack in Tennessee. The only reason that LVN sack LVN took himself out of the play. Luckily, Gary pushed the tackle back into Will Levis, who had to step up, slide right. LVN looks up and like, oh, look here, there's a pork chop. Let's go ahead and snatch that up.
We might need to do a little deep dive on some Kenny Clark film then these last couple of weeks and just kind of figure out what Coach Lynn is saying here, because it's a great question. We should be asking what's going on. You talked about Rashawn. We've identified why maybe Rashawn, quote unquote, is struggling this year. I see him doing extra work out there. And like you just said, he's getting chipped a lot, getting double teamed a lot, and fighting through and still affecting these plays. Maybe we should look at Kenny and see what's going on. It doesn't seem like his reps are down, right? I mean, even with, the surgence of, Devontae Wyatt over the past few weeks, TJ Slayton, a couple other guys, Carl Brooks comes to mind, but Kenny's still getting reps. I mean, do you think it's a technique thing or alignment thing, or?
I felt like he got a lot of reps yesterday. We need to look at the snap count, but in Tennessee, he only got 30 some snaps. But keep in mind, they kept going to that NASCAR package because they were leading, right? When you're losing or it's a close game, you can't go to those NASCAR packages because the other team's still running the ball on you, right? That's what the point I was trying to make with Tennessee is, like, you get up to an early lead, and now you can throw in your NASCAR package and really get after the QB. You didn't see much of that yesterday. At least on the surface, I didn't feel like you did. So maybe that's the answer to the question there too. But I got to agree with Coach Lim. If you're asking me who's the problem, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, it's definitely Kenny. And it sucks because you're not going to find a better dude. We know one of the reasons why they extended him is because he's a locker room leader and all those things that you want. You just lost Aaron Jones, who was arguably your team leader, right? The guy. The last thing you want to do is lose another guy that's kind of that dude that holds the locker room together. But at the end of the day, man, you got to perform on the field, no doubt. 2-0 for this says Christian only has 3 guys guarding him. He's wide open. Eric Sutherland. Bates bought all the back stock $5 Jason Spriggs jerseys. I don't know why Jason Spriggs catches so much hate from Eric Sutherland in here. But I do remember the Jason Spriggs days. I could be wrong, but I remember having a lot of high hope for Jason Spriggs, and it was a couple years in, we were like, oh, boy, this ain't good. But anyway. Another one that comes to mind is Darren College. I remember them drafting him.
Oh, yeah.
Him being versatile. I think he's serving overseas. I think he joined the military, if I remember correctly. He's like maybe doing contract work over there or something. I seen a picture of him online. Like as soon as he retired from football, next thing you know, man, he's in the military. He's overseas, Afghanistan or Iraq or something. So shout out to Darren College. I'm pretty sure it was Darren College. You guys correct me in the chat if I got that wrong. I think that's who I remember seeing that. But if y'all would hit that like button for us real quick, help other Packer fans find this channel, find this content. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. I want to mention this before we get into some of what Matt LaFleur said, Tim. So Matt Schneiden tweeted this out. He quote tweeted Jordan Rodriguez, who covers the Rams. Sean McVay ruled Cooper Kupp out for the Packers games. Ram have their bye the week after. And Matt Schneiden pointed out that also there's no Cooper Kupp, but also Puka Nacua is still on the IR. So the Rams, who just got beat by the Bears, obviously they're missing their 2 top receivers. You better not overlook them, because if anybody can put a game plan together, it's Sean McVay. And I don't understand the people who think Sean McVay is overrated. Youngest coach in NFL history to win a Super Bowl. The youngest coach in NFL history to make it to 2 Super Bowls as well, if I remember correctly. I think those 2 statistics are factual. But that dude can he can scheme together a win here or there, even without his best players. But I do like our chances against the Rams. It's on the road, and that's what worries me, Tim. Obviously, we're going to be traveling all the way across the country. Hopefully, they try to learn from some of their past mistakes, get out there a little early or something. We'll see, though. But I think that's good news for us, though, man. Both Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are going to be out for that game.
Yeah, it certainly gives us a heck of a lot better matchups out there for sure. I'm sure we'll break that down later in the week when we look at the one-on-one matchups and everything. But you're right, you can't count the Rams out. It's a home game for them. We have been absolutely dog crap on West Coast road trips in recent memory. I'm trying. Maybe the chat can help us out. When's the last time we won a game on the road on the West Coast? It's been a while. So we can't take this for granted at all. And Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp don't play defense. So we've got to account for that Rams defense as well, and not fear them but respect them, and go in there and play some good ball. But I think it's a winnable game, and I think we could, looking forward at this schedule here, we could bounce back, from this divisional loss and rattle off a couple of wins here, and hopefully come back home 4-0 heading into that Detroit matchup in November. That would be nice.
Yeah, definitely. TC fan with the super chat. Thank you, bud. We appreciate you so much. Says, I don't get people who are hypercritical of Love yesterday. Was very impressed that he played. Go back and look at Rodgers' stats when he came back from injury. He had to shake off the rust as well. I think it's a great point, TC fan. And listen, I'm as guilty as anyone. And the biggest issue that I had yesterday with the criticizing of Love, and it was more about the criticizing of we didn't make the right decision bringing him back. To the best of my knowledge, the MCL is not with the brace. There's zero elevated chance of hurting that worse or re-aggravating it. That's the way that I understand that injury. Once the scar tissue starts to form, there's still pain involved, but with the brace and everything, there's no extra risk there. Now, obviously, he couldn't drive the ball down the field the way he wanted to in the first half. I think that was more mechanical than it was a pain tolerance thing, right? And it's exactly, again, this isn't me talking. This isn't me, the dumb redneck Packers fan talking. This is former players who have all had similar injuries saying you gotta get out there and just get hit and trust it and get back into the flow of things. If we wait week after week after week, what if we had waited? You lose that game with Malik Willis starting quarterback. Let's just say that you lose the game anyway to the Vikings, who some would argue is the best team in the entire National Football League. They beat the Niners. They beat some good teams, and then I understand the Niners were banged up, but you still gotta play the game. But you go out there, and then let's say Malik Willis loses the game. Okay, you're 2-2, and now you've still got to get over the hurdle of putting Jordan Love out there for the first time and shaking the rust off. Like, I kind of like the idea that, hey, look, all right, he's cleared. Let's go. Now, some people, Tim, they're saying, like, Love, I said this last week that Jason Wilde was kind of hinting at the reason that Love didn't play was because his representation said he wasn't ready, and maybe LaFleur was aggravated that was, kind of the agency was kind of calling the shots. Again, we don't have any hard evidence that was the case, but that's what was being insinuated throughout the media there in Green Bay. You got to get him out there, man. You got to. Like, you can't just – the longer you push this out, you're going to be looking up and it's week 6, and now we got to knock the rust off. And it's, You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, second half, he didn't look like it was hindering him that much. First half, you could see it, but
I was right there with Jacob yesterday. There was halfway through that second quarter, I was screaming at the TV, like, just pull him out of this game, put Willis in there, and let's see what happens. And it wasn't because of how Jordan was playing. It was because I was legitimately concerned something bad was going to happen to our QB1. If we're getting boat raced at home that early in the game, I figured get him out, put Willis in, and let's coast. Well, we got a touchdown. We made some plays. We got back in that game, and they kept Jordan out there, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I was absolutely wrong, and that's the testament to your point. You've got to let him play through this crap. How much rust can you really get missing a few weeks? Well, more than you think, because there's a big difference between practicing and doing walkthroughs and, all that crap versus actually playing an NFL game. And if you miss one or two in a row and then you're suddenly thrust into a high-profile divisional matchup at home. Let's not forget it was his first home game this year. He didn't get a home opener this year. A lot of pressure on that quarterback to come out and just be good right away. And I think we saw a situation where, Jordan was trying to do it all really early. And, you can talk about the throws being underthrown and that sort of thing. I don't attribute that to the knee injury at all. I think he was just out of rhythm, not really feeling it. And then, like you said, we saw in the second half, man, those throws started getting home. He looked more sure of himself. His reads were better. He was, making better choices with the football in that second half. So I think clearly I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And Matt LaFleur does, because he's stuck with QB1, and we almost came back and stole that game away from the Vikings. So, I'll be the first to admit I was definitely wrong.
Welcome to the club. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about half the time either. So. But, I don't know, man. I just hate to think that we're going to continue to kick that can down the road and not get him, ready, right? And let's go ahead and say, and TC fan, thank you for the super chat, but he also went on to say, one preseason series in a game on a garbage field in Brazil. Think about that.
Yep.
That's you got to get him ready. And the preseason thing, that's on the coaches. There's no sugarcoating that, right? You got, again, we played them last year. We played everybody last year for the most part preseason, and everything went fine. You kind of started strong, you hit a little hiccup, and then you finished the season strong. But I don't know, man. I'm tired of arguing about the whole preseason thing, because there's nothing in the middle. I always kind of fall in the middle. And that's the boring spot to be when it comes to talking sports, talking football. But it seems like people are either on the side of the preseason doesn't matter, or the other side of, the preseason, it definitely matters. And it's the reason you're getting off to a slow start. But Daryl in the chat says, Jair wasn't playing Sunday. It probably would have been different if he was playing. I think it would have. And that's another great point, too, that I heard people talking about earlier today, is the game plan that was probably put in place to him was – it was probably geared around having Jair play man coverage on Justin Jefferson. So think about this. You spend the entire week putting this game plan in. You've installed the game plan. Then it's my understanding he hurt his groin on Thursday, and now he's not going to play. So you can't just change the whole game plan that late in the week, right? And to your point, you get into the game, you start getting boat race, and you waited a little too long to adjust and start playing some of that match, start playing some of that zone. And change it up a bit. And again, man, they played excellent in the second half. Now, I know that I'm sure Minnesota changed up their approach, but, again, it still counts. So I think it would have been different. Don't you, man, if Jai was out there?
I do. I think so, for sure.
Or Valentine's, right?
Yeah, really. It would have been nice to see CV out there as well. But you're right. You can't scrap a whole game plan on Thursday. You can't even do it on, Wednesday or Tuesday, really. You're doing install all week long, and you gotta, we talk about it all the time, next man up. So if Ja goes down, somebody's got to step up, and they got to fill that role. That's how a coach is looking at it. They're looking at it as a role and a game plan. Who can we insert in here to take over this role? And, honestly, to Eric Stokes' credit, I thought he played relatively well yesterday out there, considering there was no Jair out there. But yeah, I think this game would have been a lot different if we had John Money out there. I certainly think he would have at least got a PBU on that Justin Jefferson touchdown.
Yeah, definitely. Crystal Dye in the chat says he didn't play phenomenal, but look, it took J-Love one quarter to put up almost as many points as they did in all three quarters. I'm glad the Vikings are hitting their hot streak now, because it won't last. She went on to say, I'd rather us start getting hot later in the year to make the playoff push. It's a great point, Crystal. And that's kind of been the Vikings' MO, the fraud talk that we talked about several years ago, right? But I do think they're a good football team. And I understand what you're saying. I think it's best to peak a little later in the year for sure. Coach Lynn says, we still have a chance to go 6-2 if we take care of business the next 4 weeks. Very winnable games in this next stretch. Amen. And Coach is a coach. That's why we call him Coach Lynn. He looks at things – obviously in quarters when it comes to the NFL season. You want to go 3-1 in quarter one, and then 3-1 in the next. You want to win every game, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like if you can kind of control everything, 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, 3-1, you got that bonus game now. Even if you lose that, you get 12 wins, you're sitting pretty nice at the end of the year type thing.
We can't continue to drop divisional games though. That's going to shoot us in the foot when it comes to playoff seeding.
Yeah.
We've got we got the Vikings, we got Detroit. I mean, hell, we got the same record as the Bears, right? The Bears are 2-2 right now. So I mean, the NFC North is going to be hyper competitive. How many of those teams do you think are going to make, one of those 7 seeds in the NFC playoff picture? So, divisional matchups, those definitely come into play when it comes down to it towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree, man. Completely agree. Let's see here. All right. Lord have mercy, Chuck Norris. Oh. Love looked horrible. Cannot blame the defense. They gave up 28 points in the first half. Chuck, what are we talking about? Charles is off the rocker this season.
Wow.
AFM said it best.
Here's the guy.
Norris Chuck coming in with the hot takes. It's like he rattled off 12 comments in a row that was just like, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Anyway, it's amazing how when you win, wins aren't a quarterback stat. When you lose and you don't like the quarterback, it's a quarterback stat. So I don't.
Too old for this clearing it up. I do not think this is the real Chuck Norris. Thank goodness.
Oh man, that's good stuff. With that being said, that's the end of hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we'll see you on the Eric Sutherland. Chuck is hammered. We'll see you on the other side for hour 2. We appreciate y'all.